life can only be understood looking backwards, but it can only be lived and can only be lived looking forwards. Kierkegaard, evaluator, Toastmaster, and my fellow Galileans. Today, I want to share with you my relationship with this letter, the letter F, letter of failure. Every time I see it, I want to touch it, and I want to throw it on the floor and stamp on it. The first story that I want to share with you today is from primary school. When I first learned turtle graphics. As a kid that was mostly chronically online, watching YouTube and drawing pictures on MS Paint back in 2011 when that was a thing, I used to look forward to things like turtle graphics because I could finally have this turtle on the screen, it could be moving around, I could be controlling it, and I'd be making pictures, and it looked so amazing until I went there. And I couldn't do it. For the first time, as a 7-year-old in grade 2, my textbook looked serious. There was instructions, there was commands, there was this whole screen of pixelated icons, and I had to make this little turtle move, and I had to type in instructions, and it was overwhelming. I found it difficult, I found it intimidating, I found it uncertain. I found it difficult because this was the first time I was ever doing this. This was hard, this was real business for the first time in my life. I had to memorize commands, I had to type them in, I had to do them right, and put them in the right order. I found it intimidating because it doesn't go right. We've all seen turtles flip around in random circles, drawing random things that we didn't expect. It was intimidating. I wanted to get it right. As a nerdy kid who always got the right results, I wanted it the right way. And it was uncertain. I didn't know if I would get the right answers I wanted. This was my first relationship with the first F, failure. And this showed that I let the failure consume me. In our ICT exam, I got only 14 out of 100. For the first time in my life, like I said, as a kid that used to do really well in school, this 14 devastated me. So as a good kid, as a kid that was nerdy, I stayed back after school, I sat with my teacher for a few days and I worked it out. The second story that I want to share with you today is from middle school. When I moved from Sri Lanka to Doha, I moved to a new school and I moved to a new country, and my parents were finding schools, and when they found something that worked for us, we realized that I had to jump a grade. I had to jump from year 6 to year 7 because I had to age match with the rest of the class. And that meant that I had to take an entrance exam in math and English, and that was intimidating. Again, that was difficult, that was intimidating, that was uncertain. It was difficult because I was jumping an entire grade up. It was a whole new plethora of mathematical concepts that I was not familiar with. As a kid, I was just learning capacities and putting liters and 500 milliliters into 1 liter. Doing Pythagoras theorem and then working out the angles of triangles was a whole new concept. It was difficult. You don't learn that thing right off the bat. It was intimidating because suddenly in 2 weeks I had to figure out how to learn a whole year's worth of math in just 2 weeks. It was uncertain. I didn't know if I could do it. And the uncertainty was building up. This was a new country. I was between 2 countries and between 2 school systems. Had I not got it right, I'd be lost. And I let the fear consume me. That was the second F of my life, fear. And this time, I again let it consume me. I went to the exam hall, I was full of fear, I sat down there and I couldn't answer the paper. I failed that exam, I didn't get to school. But out of a stroke of luck, almost like it fell from the sky, they told me I could resit the exam. They told me my English grades were okay, they wanted to give me another chance with math. So for the next 2 weeks, I sat with my dad and I worked through a whole year's worth of math. After hours, I sat with him, he came after work and we worked through an entire year's worth of math. And that was the most overwhelming experience middle school me had ever faced. And I went to the exam and I passed. And that felt an incredible accomplishment for what it was. The third story that I'd like to share with you today is from biology class. I was in A-level biology. I was deeply in love with the subject. I wanted this to be my career. I wanted to do everything I wanted to know everything there was about biology. So when I knew that we were going to learn about microscopes and look into this unimaginable world of microscopy and learn all these specific organisms and look into plants, I was excited. I loved it. So as a nerdy kid that used to do all the pre-reading and used to keep up on his work, I read the lab manual, I knew what I was going to do, I read all the work and I went to the lab. I sat down there, I was ready. I put the slide in, I turned the course knob right up to the top, creak, right at the top. I looked in, nothing. black, white. I saw that. Once again, I'll be back now, put the slide back in, creak, back up again, nothing. My confidence shattered. My confidence and my enthusiasm went from the size of the horizon to 6.5 centimeters tall. It was destroyed. Again, I had to stay back after hours. I had to sit with my teacher. I had to work through the microscopy again. I had to put the slides in step by step. She had to hold my hand, get me there. But eventually, biology became my favorite subject as well. Ladies and gentlemen, what I want to share with you today is this. Throughout my life, I've always stumbled when I learned something new. I've always had it hard the first time I got it. But they were never always hard. And just take the extra time, persevere through it, take the after hours, maybe pick it up once again, and maybe you have the different outcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.